Warning, y'all. What I'm about to say is going to be offensive. It's going to be controversial to creatives, entrepreneurs, for artists. Y'all are going to be mad at me. But before you get mad, please hear me out. Hear me out before you drag me on social media. Please. But first, this is Jock, and welcome to
Slow Down.
So what is this controversial thing I'm about to tell you? I have decided to quit crowdfunding. You heard me. I've decided to quit crowdfunding. Please, please, please don't turn this off. Listen to me. Please listen to what I have to say. Give me a chance to explain myself. Because if you listen to me, you'll understand why I've decided to quit crowdfunding. And I know what you're thinking. If you know me and you've been following me, you're like, how dare he say he quit crowdfunding? He succeeded. He made it where he is today because of crowdfunding. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. If it wasn't for crowdfunding, I would not be a publisher. I would have not been able to print the books that I've made. Crowdfunding made me be where I am today. Oh, by the way, if you're following this and you don't know what crowdfunding is, let me actually explain that first before we keep moving forward, because you might not know what crowdfunding is. You might be listening to me for the first time. Well, crowdfunding is a way for artists, entrepreneurs, people who make stuff to be able to leverage their relationships, the people that they know, social media, to raise funds for their campaigns, for their projects. So I am not hating. So if you are in it, please do not look at me as a hater. I don't hate it. And when I say I quit, I didn't say I'm quitting forever. But I am quitting it in part because of what I've noticed in the past few months. I've been looking on my social media and I've noticed a pattern. If you follow me on social media, one of the things you may not know is that 50 to 60% of the people I follow and who follow me are creatives. They are people who make stuff, you know? They are entrepreneurs, they are publishers, they are creative people. With that being said, that means that my social media is filled to the brim with crowdfunding campaigns. And it's crazy, y'all. It's crazy. Last month, I saw 7 campaigns at the same time. And all of them are for people that I'm close with, people that I really love working with. And I enjoy their work, and I love them. It's making it hard to want to support them because they're everywhere. And it's not just last month. Every month I can average 3 crowdfunding campaigns happening at the same time. We have oversaturated the market, y'all. And you know, and the other reason why I've thought about quitting crowdfunding is because, as I told you before, why I started this podcast, I want to improve my relationships with my friends, my customers, with myself, with my discipline and the craft of wanting to be a publisher. I want to improve that relationship. I want to grow. And I don't want to do things just because I'm noticing things on social media, because I'm looking at everybody do stuff. I don't want to stress myself out competing with people. I'm all for competition. I love competing with people who are doing what I do. I love looking and learning and growing. But I'm not into that type of competition that is destructive. The kind where you're looking at people and you're jealous and you're thinking that you deserve something because you notice that they got something and you feel like you need to get it too because you've been in the game just as long as they are. I'm not into destructive competition. And I feel like crowdfunding is turning us into these people who are looking at our friends as cash cows, our customers, the people that we care about, as people who are wallets to us. And I don't like that feeling. I don't like the stress that comes with crowdfunding campaigns. I don't like planning for shipping and always getting that thing wrong, you know? Like I said, don't get me wrong again. I have succeeded with 3 crowdfunding campaigns that enabled me to publish books. But each campaign stressed me out so badly because I never could get shipping right. My first campaign, I learned very quickly that when international people want stuff, my shipping costs more, you know? And my last campaign, I learned that not everybody wants to keep funding my projects. And also, it is stressful when you have already had an artist working on a project and your crowdfunding campaign failed, you having to pay them and finding a way to pay them. Crowdfunding is stressful, y'all. And it's stressful on your psyche. It's stressful in you questioning why you got into this dream in the first place. It makes you not even care anymore about the craft that you dedicated yourself in. I'm very much aware that as I tell you how I phased myself out of crowdfunding, that I'm coming from a place of privilege. I have grown my business to a point where I feel like crowdfunding, as much as I need it, I still need it. I am not rich by any stretch of the imagination. I still need money to make my projects happen. But I'm in a position where I have grown an audience using crowdfunding. And now I'm able to talk to this audience to help me fund my projects. I have created a rapport with the artists that I work with, and I've created relationships with the people that I work with, that now things are not as stressful as they were before. So I am very much aware that I'm operating from that perspective. But I don't know if you're like me, but I'm the type of person that I can learn from anyone. And I love learning from anyone. People who have gone through things help me not have to go through those headaches, or make me realize when I've hit a place where I can transition and change my mode of thinking and do something different. And that is all that I'm trying to offer up here, as I'm about to tell you how I phased myself out of crowdfunding. The first way that I phased myself out was I used the crowdfunding method that I used earlier and used it to get people from crowdfunding to actually go and buy stuff from my store. One of the things that caused me to look away from crowdfunding was my last crowdfunding campaign. It was for 2 children's books that I've written for some amazing artists that worked with me. And I wanted to pay them for the hard work that they did. I saved up money initially for them to start working on the project, but I hit a point where I need a crowdfunding campaign to pay them for the remainder, and also to be able to print those books to fulfill those orders so that I can start selling these books in conventions and recoup the cost. Well, that crowdfunding campaign failed, and I was scared to death because now I had artists that I worked with, that I cared about, with no idea of how I was going to pay them. So what I decided to do was something unconventional, something that I frowned upon at the beginning of this project, and I never wanted to do. I took out a loan. For the total of making this project happen. And with that loan, I paid the artist for one of the books that I worked on because they completed the book, and it was only fair for them to be paid for the work that they did. So I paid them for the work that they did, and now with a loan floating above head, I had another set of issues that I was worried about. Now was, how am I going to pay off this loan? So I was deeply worried because now I'll worry about paying off a loan. So what I did is I used all of the contacts for my crowdfunding campaign. I was very much aware that all my crowdfunding campaigns, if they were at $3,000, they ended up being successful. When I pushed it higher than $3,000, then when my crowdfunding campaign completely failed. So I went to my crowdfunding campaigns, and I got every single person who funded my past campaigns, and I sent messages from email blasts to the crowdfunding campaign that recently failed. I sent a message saying, hey, y'all look like you cared about this book. If you still want it, you can order it using my store. So I opened up a store with all my books in it, and I offered an opportunity to pre-order. The pre-orders enabled me to pay my the outpour support enabled me to pay off the artists that worked on my book. That blew my mind. I was able to pay off my artists using my own store and not having to use Kickstarter and not having to deal with shipping outside of the city in the state, without having to have headaches about, how I was going to fulfill these orders. I was able to pre-order and sell my books using my store and not a crowdfunding campaign. You have no idea how freeing that felt. That was a game changer moment for me when I realized I can do that. The rest of the progress was kind of slow because I still had to go to conventions, and I had to do a whole bunch of other things to pay down this debt. But that was just the first phase for me escaping crowdfunding, because now I dug my toes into now taking loans, and that is something that I'm still not very comfortable with. So now I was worried, that now I'm now beholden to banks. And on top of that, my family and I, since we're family, I'm going to be honest with you, we are in a phase right now where we're trying to get rid of debt. That's where we are. Getting a loan is just another debt that I did not want to add on. So I had to reinvent and rethink how I wanted to do things. So I decided to offer other services. I freelance. I build websites. I do things on the side. So I did freelance projects that I enjoy doing and use those funds to put it into an account where I use for publishing, for my dream projects. Y'all, this concept, as simple as it sounds, it took 8 years to get to this point, to realize that I did not have to follow this structure that I built for myself, thinking that crowdfunding has to be the only way for me to fund my ideas. I found other ways. And also the other thing that I realized is that I don't have to have 15 projects happening at once. I don't want to be stressed out while I create books. I want to be able to save up money and pay the artists their fair share, their fair pay for the work that they provide. I want to be happy about the work that I produce. But I can only do that by planning the work that I'm doing and realize my limitations and knowing that I can only do one at a time. So I spend all the time and finances that I can on this one project and not work on 15 of them. And it feels great, y'all. Not having the stress feel great. And I want you to feel the same way. Again, as I said, I am not against crowdfunding. I'm not against you wanting to fund your projects. Please do. If it works for you, use it. But I do want you to hit a point where you start making decisions based on what is best for you and the growth of your craft and your work, for your mental sanity, things that are good for your mental sanity, to make decisions that are best for you. Not because of what you saw on social media, not because you're seeing 7 Kickstarter campaigns happening right now and you feel like you need to have yours running too. You don't have to run that way. Find an alternate way to make your ideas and dreams come true. Well, that's it for me. I hope that my conversation causes you to think differently about crowdfunding campaigns. So, what I need from you is to share this podcast. And as you share this podcast, I want you to share, what do you think about crowdfunding? Is it the bee's knees? Is it everything you wanted it to be? Or do you think that there is a point where you're going to have to quit? You have to take a break from it and find alternate ways for you to fund your campaigns. I want y'all to be at peace and happy with your ideas and love the process. Well, that's it for me right now. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you share. This is Jock. And please remember to
slow down.
All right, y'all. Take care.